coming. I know what's wrong. I'm so sorry. I'm so ashamed. I know. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes. Yes, teacher. Thank you. Thank you. My story can be found in the Bible. John, chapter 8, verses 1 through 11. As he was speaking, the teachers of religion, law, and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down, wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer. So he stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." So here we have this woman who was caught doing something that even back then in Jesus' day was against moral and physical law. She was dragged out. I mean, I kind of was able to come out, but she was literally dragged, most likely probably by her hair, because they didn't cut their hair back then. And prostitutes and women of that kind of moral code, they didn't care. They didn't cover their head. You know, since I read this story as a teenager, and I heard a lot of sermons on it, you know, there was a couple questions that I kind of wondered about. First, how did the men know where to find her? And why were these men even in her neighborhood that she was in? Because a lot of prostitutes would hang out by the temple, but they'd be around the temple. Because the men would be able to go to the temple and get forgiven of any sin that they committed. So a lot of times they used women for sexual purposes and then go repent of it. And they bring her out and they're ready to stone her to death. She knew what she was doing was wrong. And she knew that she could be caught at any moment. And women in that time, they knew what the repercussions of that decision would be. They could have killed her. They tried, but they couldn't do it unless Jesus said that it was okay to stone her. I mean, can you imagine how terrified this woman had to have been? She was probably shaking. And she also knew that her punishment would be death if she got caught, and yet she did it anyway. Why? What was it in her life that made her feel so terrible about herself that she would take the chance of losing her life. One word, shame. The Bible doesn't tell us anything about this woman. It doesn't even give us her name. We have no idea what type of family she came from. We don't know what tribe she belonged to. All we know is that she was around the temple. And like I said before, that's kind of where the prostitutes hung out, and women of lower class, because they would do anything to feed their families. We don't even know, obviously she was married, because if she was caught in the act of adultery, you all know what that means, right? Yeah, taking somebody that wasn't her husband. But she did it. Did she have little kids that she needed to feed? As a mom, I'd probably do just about anything for my 2 kids. You know, life has a way of kind of making us do things that we know are wrong, but we do them anyway. We do it because whatever the circumstances were, or someone or some major event in our lives make us feel that we're not good enough. So we're willing to compromise ourselves, our reputations, our virtues. You know? Because the bad stuff's always easier to believe than the good stuff. And it kind of has a way of making us feel guilty. So we act in ways or do things that make us feel sick inside, just to be accepted and hide all those shameful things from the rest of the world. So she put on her makeup, her jewelry, her dress, that probably really wasn't a dress, you know, but she made herself enticing to somebody. And why? For what? What happened? You know, was her husband cruel? Did she have a dad that wasn't around or made her feel like that's who she had to become? I went to college with a girl. Her mom actually was a prostitute, and that's how she became born, actually. But her mom kept her. And her mom told her that she saved her life. Because until the moment she became a mom, she did not feel valued by anybody. She didn't feel needed by anybody. And she was horribly embarrassed about what she was doing. She said when she would lay with those people, she would just completely shut off. She was doing it for her daughter. So they had a place to stay. They had food in their mouth. She didn't care if she ate. She didn't care if she got anything to drink. She was worried about her kid. And we don't want to let sometimes anybody close, like, and really get to know us. You know, we kind of keep our distance a little bit. Because like my friend's mom, for a very long time, she didn't have friends because she didn't feel like she could trust anybody. Because the second she told them what she did, they'd be gone, and they would judge her. You know, and it may not be something so dramatic as that, but I think all of us, to a degree, we have things that we might be ashamed about. Things that we've said or done in our past. So we try to kind of keep that from everybody. Because if they find that out, they don't want to be around us. They don't want to be our friends. They'll see the things we've said or done and won't want to be around us anymore. And it's true, some will walk away, but the ones that matter, the true friends, the people that really have your back, they'll take your hand and stand up for you. And most importantly, they'll stand beside you. So then, we get to start removing some things. Those are my notes. We get to remove all of this stuff that has made us feel ashamed. The trinkets of shame, the clothing of shame, It all goes away. And what's left is the garment of purity. Jesus takes those things, the things that we hide in our heart, and what we think we've got hidden so deep from the rest of the world. He picks those things out, you guys. He already knows they're there. And he takes them, and he washes them away. And he makes us clean and whole. Trying to get the ball. Okay, there we go. All right. Makes us clean and whole, right?